Hello and welcome to Rubbin'minds. My name is Hero Daniels. Many thanks for joining us. As I was driving down to the studio, I noticed that we still have very long lines of empty tanks, just waiting to buy fuel at the NNPC filling station. I don't think Nigerians have actually adapted to the new reality, which is the fact that, fuel is very, very expensive. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and my friend was like, this time around, that father-in-laws and, people that want to give away their daughters are now adding gallons of fuel to their bride price. That's how bad the situation has gotten. So we really want to break down the fuel crisis that we're experiencing in the country, Nigeria's fuel shortage crisis, and the struggle for economic stability. And I'm privileged to have very renowned experts in the studio. First, Associate Director, Human Capital Partners, Shehu Zubairu. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us virtually is an energy policy analyst, Adiola Yusuf. Welcome to the program. So, Mr. Shehu, first of all, let's talk about let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Why do we have fuel shortage in a country that is so rich in oil? It still doesn't make sense to a lot of people.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to a lot. And once again, good afternoon, viewers. The entire structure of that system called NNPC, is one of the major challenges. NNPC is a fantastic organization. However, it has a lot of structural challenges. And they have been saddled with a mandate to ensure fuel security and availability. And I think in that area, they have failed. If you look at the newspapers of the 80s, you'll see fuel queues. And up until today, we still have fuel issues. That's to tell you that in that matrix, with regards to performance, they have not done well. But instead of casting stones directly at them, let's also look at the major challenges they also have. As an organization that is saddled with that humongous responsibility, I suspect that NNPC is not very clear about their mandate. Just in 2021, they have been asked to function as a limited liability company, which I'm sure you're aware of. And the sole aim of a limited liability company is to drive profit. But NNPC have actually served more like a social economic engine for the nation. So it drives social economic initiatives. And so there seems to be some contrast in their mandate. As a key driver of socio-economic initiatives in Nigeria, especially this event of fuel subsidy, and then, of course, a profit liability company. So you find out that striking that balance becomes a major challenge. So in terms of fuel scarcity, I don't know if it's going to go out immediately because they are also confused. So you see different policies that comes out today that says that the government is expected to ensure fuel availability.
Yeah.
And then later on, you now find out again that they are having issues with liquidity because you can't give one and then get the other. You just have to give one for the other. So that's the challenge.
So let's break things down.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, Nigeria is a nation that is rich in oil. We did have refineries that worked.
Yes, we did.
What happened to those refineries? And for every dispensation, they say, okay, you know what? We're going to fix these refineries up. Billions of naira being allocated, and it's like we're back to square one.
So the situation is Nigeria, actually. I think it has a lot to do with our core values as a country, what it has eventually become, even though we don't agree with the fact that that is really what defines us as a people. Look at every other sector in the country and what corruption has done to it. You'll find out that we have very beautiful infrastructure, we have very beautiful systems, but for some reason, performance is not really one of the things that we are very good at churning out. Probably because we have very strong individuals and we don't have very strong institutions, that will regulate the kind of performance that we expect from most of the investments that we get. So yes, the challenge here is we as a people. What exactly drives us as a nation? What do we reward as a nation? What do we hold accountable as a nation? These are things that I'm not sure we have fully addressed. And so any system where these values are not really driven by may not necessarily perform. And NNPC is not the oil and gas sector generally. I don't want to use the word NNPC now. The oil and gas sector is not isolated from these core challenges. Any system you find yourself where these values are not held in high esteem, then you will have challenges.
So, in other words, you're saying that even as a body,
Yes.
you know, the entire system has cases of alleged corruption.
So corruption is one of them. Corruption is a major challenge. But even the entire business DNA of the oil and gas sector, I think, has to be restructured. You know, yes, I agree with you that corruption is a major issue, but corruption is in every other sector.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in every other sector of the economy. And if you look at as you see, the elephant in the room, the oil and gas industry. The reason why we are talking about it is because it affects you and I. It affects the average person on the street. But if you look at other industries that don't affect people directly, maybe indirectly, these same issues exist. You know, these same issues exist in terms of corporate governance of the entire body, the entire structure. Those are challenges we may need to look at.
Right.
And once that is not in place, corruption now becomes, you know, a major indices that we find very difficult to cope.
Okay, let's pick the thoughts of Adiola. Adiola Yusuf, energy policy analyst, is joining us virtually. So we want to talk more about the policies in the oil sector. So we've had several policies from one government to another, and it seems like of all the policies that they've all formulated, we don't have anyone that is really efficient because the results speak for itself. What do you make of the policies that we've had over the years? What do you make of the policies, the government's policies in the oil sector, Adiola? All right, so yeah, I'm finding it's a bit of a challenge connecting with Adiola. So yeah, let's go further. Yes, please.
All right. You see, there's this regular comment that says that, you know, culture at any time will eat strategy for breakfast, and I think that's the issue. You know, it doesn't matter how fantastic the policy is or how bad it may look. Once the culture of the people that drive this policy is not in place, then that entire policy may not work. I've also seen situations where we have some assaulting of policies. You have asked the major oil and gas company in Nigeria to manage performance in terms of revenue because they are bringing in forex into the country. The major business of the NNPC is to bring forex into the country. And then you are also asking them, on the other hand, to generate subsidy. These are two contrasting things. It's not very easy to strike that balance, you know, and so it requires a lot of, you know, policy review and, of course, culture. The culture of the people that drives it. What exactly is that culture? Have we clearly stated that out? You know, in terms of decision making, in terms of the business structure, you know, in terms of how performance is being measured and rewarded. All of these things come into play when we are implementing any policy. And if for any reason, you know, the culture is not in full alignment with the policy, then everything will collapse. You know, it doesn't matter how big the organization or how small, the policy is going to collapse. So yes, the government has come out to say, you know what, we want to end subsidy regime. But you see, as good, in quote, as they say the policy may look, just because, you know, the country has actually been brought to its knees, you know, as a result of the economic situation we found ourselves. You know, implementation of that policy is my own concern. There is a way to implement a change. And in every standard change initiative, you know, it has to come with some structure and plan. You know, change can either be radical or it can be incremental. So how exactly are we trying to mitigate the effects of some of this change? Did we do a proper risk assessment or risk analysis on the implication of the change? If we probably did, I want to believe that the people in power probably did. But if they did it well, then we should have envisaged some of the challenges that would have come up afterwards and then find a way to mitigate them. So it looks as though we don't have a plan. We just implemented a policy and there is absolutely no plan on how to mitigate the challenges that come up. So these are my concerns. Yeah. As fantastic as the policy is, to me, is really not my issue, but how do we go about implementing it? And what culture are we using to drive that? That's my major concern here.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, I understand where you're coming from. We've obviously seen the effects.
Yeah.
It's obvious that the government took the radical route, you know, because it was just, the president came in, he was sworn in, and the first thing he said was,
subsidy is gone.
Subsidy is gone. Yes, with the Dangote refinery, a lot of people's hopes went up, and there have been conversations around whether the fuel will be cheaper. Now, the NNPC is obviously the sole buyer from Dangote refinery, so they set the price according to Dangote. So, in fact, there was a lot of drama that happened with that. Let's pick Adiola's thoughts on the Dangote refinery and its impact on the economy. Adiola, what do you think of Dangote refinery and its impact on our economy?
Good afternoon, and I'm very happy to be on the program. Okay, thank you very much. Of course, I love the way I think paraphrase the Dangote debacle, the Dangote refinery debacle, about the hope by Nigerians that the price of the commodity will come down immediately Dangote, refinery is on board. And everyone has been able to say. I've on occasion said that, that will be the line from the pit of hell. I've said it on several television stations, national and global. And the simple reason is that, this is economics, this is not politics. The production cost at Dangote refinery was higher than the amount the product was being sold at the filling station as at that time. As at the morning of the day, Dangote refinery started producing petrol. The production cost was far higher. So that will tell you clearly that this is not politics, this is business. If you hear where, Alhaji Aliko Dangote even clamoring or, canvassing total removal of subsidy, what that will mean is that if the subsidy is totally removed, there is no undercurrent, there is no under-recovery, there is no differential. What that will mean is that the price of this commodity will still go higher. Everyone know that, energy is expensive globally. If we have friends, we have viewers around the world, they will tell you a liter of petrol, how much a liter of petrol is sold in the UK, in the US, and all that. So what removal of subsidy will mean is that there's going to be a free market operation. Or, so what that will mean is the production cost can never ever be lower than the retail cost. But fact has been established that there's nothing like, petrol price will come down if Dangote is on board. Fine, there is a lot of things that we can say around Alhaji Aliko Dangote. He's a Nigerian that has done what any other Nigerian has never done, and he can quote me on this. He's the first Nigerian to build a refinery of 650,000 barrel capacity, the largest single unit refinery in the whole world. And he's citing this on Nigerian soil. He has invested, according to statistics, $20 billion in this investment. That was a time Dangote refinery was the biggest investment in the whole world.
Sorry to cut you short. I really need us to, because at the end of the day, we are talking from the perspective of the people, and it's very important that I'm glad that you've been able to educate that it's an economic conversation, not necessarily a political or an emotional conversation. However, we cannot take politics away from it. Nigerians are saying they cannot afford 3 square meals anymore. And a lot of people are of the school of thought that the monies gotten from the subsidy is not necessarily invested totally into infrastructure and sort of booming and boosting the economy. Small businesses, medium-scale businesses are suffering. So people are saying, you know what, the government should bring back the subsidy. And it's better we know that fuel is cheaper so that we can survive and sort of run our small businesses. What do you make of that?
Thank you very, very much. You can never ever blame a Nigerian that goes around with this kind of perspective for 2 reasons. The first one, quickly, is that Nigerians have suffered a lot. And, we have it on record, the effort by forefathers of Nigerians to ensure that Nigerians are not suffering the way we are suffering now. For that reason being that, crude oil that you're talking about that's been priced globally is a commodity produced on Nigerian soil. We have refineries that are supposed to be refining crude oil in Nigeria. Then number 3, there is a 445,000 barrels capacity internal, allocation of crude oil to those refineries. So there has been this arrangement, even in enshrined in the PIA, that 445,000 have been the total capacity of the refineries that Nigeria has 2 NMPs. 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri, and 1 in Kaduna. If we are, producing crude oil and we are allocating these to these 4 refineries and they are working, it means that Nigerians shouldn't even be bothered about the international price of crude oil. That is number 1 reason that you can never ever blame Nigerians for. The number 2 reason is the oil industry is one industry that is not understood by Nigeria, or we have little understanding. Maybe this is deliberate on the part of the policymakers, those that are ruling us. And maybe when you do not understand this industry very, very well, and you won't have the right to ask the right question. And this is what brings me to what should be the right advocates for Nigeria. Of course, it is not wrong for us to say one subsidy if government can afford. But what is I think is better is for everyone now to start asking questions about the crude oil, about the oil refinery that we have in Nigeria, 445,000 barrels of them. Over 10 years ago, 10 years ago, none of them has produced a litre of petrol. And go and check. They are spending a lot of money when it comes to recurrent expenditure, salaries, training abroad, and all that and all. This refinery should be brought back to life. Nigerians should demand. If I've been saying with the enthusiasm and the effort of the president,
yes.
which I won't put, came into
Adiola, just hold that thought. I understand how passionate you are. We have less than 3 minutes. You made very valid points. You asked a very important question, which leads me to my next question, because we really need to wrap up this segment. There have been conversations around alleged oil cabals, that these are the people holding the oil sector to ransom. We saw a snippet of, what happened with the whole Dangote versus, federal government and all of that drama that happened. What do you make of this, and what is the way forward for Nigeria?
You see, when you have very strong individuals as against strong institutions, then the issue of the cabal becomes a concern. I think we need to have a very strong corporate governance system around the oil and gas sector. If that happens, then the issue of the cabals may likely go off. Because in the same country, we have an LNG. And because of the business structure of an LNG, it's still surviving. Where are the cabals? It's just about the entire business structure within the oil and gas sector that I think that if we have very strong institutions to manage, then to address some of these concerns. The issue with Dangote and NNPC, look, Dangote is a businessman, and he is there to make profit. His mandate is completely different from that of NNPC. Even though NNPC now, trust me, their mandate is also to make money. Right from 2021, looking at the PIA bill, is to make money. The idea of NNPC functioning more like a social economic vehicle for the government is far gone. And that's the reason why you're looking at the issue of the subsidy going. All right, but it is in how government now uses the revenue generated by NNPC to better your life and my life. That is really where the concern is now. So there's a conflict in the mandate of NNPC as against that of Dangote. Dangote is to make money. Let's not think Dangote is going to help the economy of this country. That's not his mandate. His mandate is to ensure that his shareholders get profit for the money that he has made and also pay for the loans that he has acquired. That's his mandate. So anybody thinking that Dangote is going to help Nigeria make, fuel cheaper, maybe a more competitive environment could help, and that will come over time. But this monopoly that we have, where it is just one single buyer and then they determine the price, is really where I think we have a lot of challenges. We need to look at the entire structure of the oil and gas sector.
We have to wrap it up, but thank you so much for coming on to the program. This is a conversation that we really need time to sort of unpack, but thank you so much for your contribution. Adiola Yusuf, thank you so very much for coming on the program as well. Have a lovely afternoon.